Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is me, attorney Hadi Harp, and this is another estate plan chat. Now, today I want to talk about something that comes up quite often, and it typically arises when you've got somebody, typically a parent or a child, who want to do a little DIY estate planning. And so they call into the office, and all they want to do is transfer the piece of property that's held by the parent into the name of their child. And it comes from a good place, it comes from the heart. They want to maybe avoid probate down the line. So they think it's a good idea to just transfer property today rather than wait and have the kids deal with it later. Now, the issue that they typically don't understand, and what they may be losing out on, is a critical tax benefit opportunity, and that all has to do with something called what is your tax basis in a piece of property. Your tax basis is essentially what you paid for the property plus or minus appreciation, I'm sorry, depreciation, and things of that like. But let's not get into the weeds there. Let's stick with a simple example. If you bought a house in the 1990s, it may have been a pretty nice house in the 90s for $100,000. Let's call that your tax basis. If we were to go along with the strategy that the parent or child had when they called into the office and transferred the property, then their kids would be taking the property with what they call a transfer basis. So they're going to take whatever basis their kid got in the property. In this example, they're going to take $100,000 cost basis. Now that the kids have the property with $100,000 cost basis, let's look at what they would pay if they were to sell the property for its fair market value now that it's worth $500,000. We're in the 2020s. It could be worth 500 grand. So if they were to sell it for 500 grand, you would pay capital gains on the difference between the fair market value sale price minus your tax basis. In this example, 500 grand minus 100 grand is a $400,000 of capital gains. Let's say you're at a 20% capital gain tax rate. Some people are, some people may be a little bit lower. But for this example, 20% of $400,000 gains is an $80,000 tax bill that you would have to pay after selling your house, that you got from your parents when they transferred it to you while they were still alive. That sounds pretty typical. It's what a lot of people call in and what they want. But what they don't realize is that if they waited to transfer the property, inside of the tax code right now, you can get what's called a step up in basis if you were to inherit the property upon the death of your parents. So instead of transferring the property while they were alive, if you were to keep it in your parents' name or maybe inside of their trust, and instead inherited the property upon their passing, the tax code allows you to take a step up in basis equal to the fair market value of the property as of the date of death. So if your parents, God forbid, were to pass away, or when they pass away, it's going to happen, you're going to inherit the property with a tax basis equal to the fair market value of the property as of the date of their death. So in our example that we discussed earlier, let's say you've now inherited the property, you've taken a step up in basis equal to the fair market value, which is now $500,000. If you wanted to sell the property tomorrow for $500,000, you would pay the difference between 500,000 and 500,000, which, even my niece and nephews can do it. It's $0 in tax. So without taking this into an account, you could lose a substantial amount of money due to taxes when you're not doing basis tax planning. Okay. So before you start transferring deeds, you got to think about whether or not the property has appreciated, okay, since the time it was purchased by your family members. Because if you don't, you can end up with a tax bill. And in the example we just discussed, which is pretty standard protocol here, you would have saved $80,000. So that's today's video. I hope you learned something. If you want to talk about your estate planning or this issue further, I encourage you to visit estateplanchat.com and get on my schedule. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you next time.